Welcome back to your election judge training. Thanks for continuing. My name is Mike Stahlberger. I'm Director of Elections for Blue Earth County, and you're about to start your longest section of the online training that we have for you for the 2020 election season. This is the Rules and Processes section, and it's broken down into many different videos, and I'll walk you through some of those videos and give you some additional information here as we continue your training. Let me switch over to just the slides. Alrighty, and as you can see now, with this portion of our training, we're going to cover a few different topic areas. We're going to again just recap election judges and what is required for our election judges. And then we're also going to jump into some of the roles that you'll be completing on election day. Finally, we're going to talk about some of the series in this cycle for our rules and processes, some of the videos in this series, I should say, and just make sure you understand how to complete each of those. And then I'm going to end with some specifics to Blue Earth County, and just to make sure you can understand where those differences might pop up in these videos that we're using from some of our partners. Election judges are going to serve many folks on election day, and you're going to play a really important part of that. Remember to have August 11th and November 3rd marked off in your calendar, and have yourselves available for the entire shift that you've applied to work or that you've agreed to work for the elections. As we mentioned before, we'll give you your assignments as we get closer to election day. I also wanted to provide some numbers there for you. The gold stars there indicate where our live precincts are. We have 27 of them that operate on election day. The majority of those are in the city of Mankato. However, you can see some of our other communities that also have election day polling places. Our election judges serve in all of those areas, and the clerks for those individual small cities and townships will be hiring their judges who are still completing the same training. We're also using our poll pads. We'll talk more about that in a different training, but we'll deploy almost 125 of those for this election cycle, and that's going to be a game changer to help our election judges work with our voters in a more efficient manner. We also deliver a ton of materials out to our polling places through a moving company, and we have to have all those materials available to help our 37,000 registered voters in Blue Earth County. That number changes daily as folks move in and out of the county and register to vote. But that's roughly where our number always falls. In 2018, our last large statewide general election, we had 20,400 voters in Blue Earth County. Presidential elections like we have here in November usually are more active and bring out more voters. However, we're not sure the impact of COVID and how many of those folks will be returning to their polling places or if they'll be voting from home. We also like to point out that we register a lot of voters on election days. The poll pads will help us with that process, but that is an important role for our election judges. It's also interesting to note that almost 3/4 of our voters do vote on election day. That is a number that has been going down as more and more folks choose to vote early through a direct balloting process or from their homes. However, we'll be watching that number closely to see how many folks do show up in the polling places for this election cycle. Just a quick recap for everybody. I want to make sure everyone remembers the requirements to serve as an election judge, because we would like you to be aware of that before we get too far into the process. You must be eligible to vote in Minnesota. You must be able to read, write, and speak English, and complete all the training requirements. If you are a student judge, meaning you're 16 or 17 years of age, you obviously aren't eligible to vote, so instead we need to make sure you've completed the training requirements, you have permission from your school to work on election day, and you also have permission from your parents to work on election day. Your election day might be shorter than other election judges, as we have to have our student judges end their day no later than 10 p.m. Also remember, you must notify us, this goes for all election judges, you must notify us if you are also a spouse or a relative of another election judge. We need to know that to make sure we don't place you in the same precincts or work the same shifts. We also need to know if you are a candidate or related to or live with a candidate who is on the ballot in August or November. We want to make sure we can find a place for you to work in the polling, in a polling place where that individual won't be on the ballot. Your role on election day is going to vary. Most often, you'll move between multiple tasks, and the videos that you have coming up for the rest of this rules and processes procedure will walk you through those different roles. They'll talk about the tabulator judge and what that person does, what the ballot judge or the registration judge does. They'll also spend some time talking about demonstration and roster judges. And those are all things that are pretty universal across the state. What you'll see on a future slide here is that Blue Earth County doesn't necessarily name these judges that same title, and sometimes the judge roles are combined. But you'll be filling all of these different capacities on election day, as many of our election judges float between different positions in order to get a variety of experiences and help the day progress. All right, so for this actual portion of the training, I want to make sure you're aware of this series of videos. As long as you're following your election judge portal and walking through the training program that was built for that, you'll cover them all. But there are about a dozen videos that you'll click through and complete a very short quiz afterwards to acknowledge the fact that you've completed it. We've made many videos and kept them short with the hope that that'll make it easier for you to digest the information and have it available as a resource after your training sessions end in case you want to review anything. The rules and processes section, like I said, is our biggest piece here, and then we'll move into some equipment so you can see very up close and specific the equipment that we use in Blue Earth County. Then we have that optional session at the very end if you'd like to attend that. Here are some of the differences we have in Blue Earth County. As I said, the training videos that you'll be watching momentarily are very good and as an introduction and provide general information, and then we will cover more specific information as it's necessary for you to be successful on election day. One thing that you'll notice for sure is that we use different equipment, so these equipment pieces won't be named in the videos. The poll pad is our electronic roster. It helps us check in and register voters. We'll do a very long training session on that and then make those available for hands-on training in the capstone. We'll also be using DS200 tabulators. These are new pieces of equipment for all of our polling places. They count the ballots as the voters feed the ballot into the machine and it's scanned. Same ideas and concepts there, just a different name and piece of equipment. And then also new this year is the Omni ballot. That replaces our AutoMark for any of our returning judges. It's our assisted voting device, and again we'll have some training materials dedicated to that device. As I mentioned earlier, we also name our judges slightly differently than other places across the state, and we do give you some different tools and resources that we'll talk about more specifically as we move throughout the training. And with that, we have made it to our last slide here. Again, I want to provide you the contact information in case you need to get a hold of us. Otherwise, your next step is to complete the series of videos for this rules and processes section of your election judge training. You'll see me intermixed with some specific videos for Blue Earth County throughout this series. Otherwise, we'll also see you in our election equipment series of videos. Thank you.